Nobody at Pier 39 suspected the frail old dockworker mending nets was the most lethal operator the Navy ever produced. They mocked his trembling hands and slow gait, never realizing those same hands had ended more lives than the Pacific storms. His silence was a weapon sharper than any blade, and when that silence finally broke, the entire waterfront would drown in blood and seawater. The Crimson Anchor warehouse reeked of rotting fish and diesel fuel. It was 1936, and San Francisco's harbor belonged to one man, Vincent Mancini, the iron-fisted boss of the Serpent Syndicate. His smuggling empire stretched from Shanghai to the Golden Gate. Opium, guns, stolen art. If it crossed the ocean illegally, Mancini took his cut. His enforcers patrolled every dock, every loading crane, every fishing boat. Where they walked, honest men looked away. But tonight a ghost returned to haunt them. At the edge of Dock 7 sat a man who should not exist. Captain William Hayes, 68 years old, silver beard like sea foam, skin carved deep by salt wind and decades of classified operations. His hands shook slightly, arthritis from too many cold water insertions. Nobody understood what a broken-down sailor wanted in territory this dangerous. Vincent Mancini studied him with disgust. Another waterfront rat, he thought. He approached with two enforcers, their brass knuckles gleaming under the dock lights. Mancini grabbed the old man's tackle box and dumped it into the bay. "You fishing for something, old-timer?" he sneered. "This dock belongs to me. Everything here is mine." William did not respond, just watched his equipment sink, calm as if the insult meant nothing. The silence stretched and something shifted. There was something wrong about this man, something coiled tight like a steel cable under tension, waiting to snap. One enforcer whispered, "Boss, this guy ain't even scared." Mancini kicked over William's stool. The old man stumbled but did not fall, only lifted his gaze for one heartbeat. A cold stare, empty and calculating, a stare that had watched men die underwater in the dark. Before you discover how a 68-year-old sailor became the nightmare of 30 armed smugglers, take a moment to smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel and drop a comment telling me which country you are watching from. United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia. I would love to know where my viewers are tuning in from right now. Strap in, sailors, because what Captain William Hayes is about to unleash on these docks is not just vengeance. It is a reckoning delivered in silence and shadow. Stay close, because the harbor is about to become a graveyard, and the legend of the Dockyard Phantom will rise from the depths before your very eyes. San Francisco's waterfront was where law went to die. Miles of piers, warehouses stacked with cargo, and fog so thick you could taste the salt. Coast Guard patrols were bought off. Police looked the other way. This was Mancini territory. 5 years back, Mancini consolidated power by sinking 3 rival ships, killing everyone aboard. The harbor became his kingdom. He collected protection money, extorted unions, and moved contraband worth millions. The Serpent Syndicate was a machine fueled by fear. William Hayes arrived on a foggy Tuesday morning. Ferry from Oakland. No luggage except a waterproof duffel bag and a worn peacoat. He rented a room above Murphy's Fish Market with cash, no questions asked. He spoke to nobody, asked nothing, simply observed. The fishmonger, old Murphy, asked where he sailed from. William answered in a voice like gravel scraping steel. "From waters that claimed better men than me." That first evening, William ate alone at the Salty Dog Tavern, coffee in one hand, hardtack in the other. Dock workers gambled, smugglers planned routes, enforcers collected debts. One brute, a man called Sledge, noticed the old sailor. "Look here, boys, fresh blood." He staggered over, drunk on cheap rum, and knocked William's coffee onto the floor. "Old men do not last long on these docks, Grandpa. You came here to die." William chewed slowly, eyes steady, replying in a voice colder than deep ocean currents, "I came to settle a debt." Sledge laughed. "Settle what? Old grudges, the kind paid with broken bones?" Silence fell for 3 seconds. Sledge frowned, confused, then spat tobacco juice onto William's table and returned to his crew amid laughter. The old man wiped the spit with his napkin, finished his meal, dropped coins on the bar, and walked out. Before stepping through the door, he paused and looked back at the smugglers' table. His gaze moved across each face, memorizing them one by one, the way a hunter marks prey. Outside, fog swallowed the docks. Ship horns echoed across black water. Wooden pilings creaked with the tide. Somewhere in the past, the name William Hayes whispered in legends. Ghost, phantom, shadow, something everyone would soon remember. What deadly secret did this old sailor carry? Keep watching. Murphy's fish market smelled like brine and wood. William climbed the stairs, each step deliberate. His room was sparse, a cot, a chair, and a window overlooking the harbor. He pulled from his duffel bag a faded photograph. A young naval officer stood beside a woman holding a boy about 8 years old. William traced his wife's face with a scarred finger. His jaw tightened, but he did not weep. He had not wept since 1931. His wife and son had been killed in a warehouse fire at Pier 39. Accidental, the report said, but William knew better. He investigated quietly, using skills the Navy taught him. He traced the fire to an arson job ordered by a rising smuggler who wanted to expand territory. That smuggler burned 5 buildings, killing 14 people to intimidate rivals. The man's name was Vincent Mancini. For 5 years, William tracked him, waiting for the right moment. He watched Mancini rise, grow arrogant, surround himself with armed men, and now, finally, the Phantom had returned. William removed his boots and lay down fully clothed, staring at the photograph. His hands no longer shook. Muscle memory took over. His fingers remembered the grip of a knife, the exact angle for a silent kill, the weight of a dive belt loaded with explosives. Outside, the laughter of the tavern continued, unaware that the ocean's deadliest predator had surfaced. The Serpent Syndicate had just been marked for extinction. The tide was turning. Do not look away. Morning came with heavy fog rolling off the Pacific, turning the docks into a ghost world. William woke at 500 hours, as always, muscle memory from decades of military discipline. He performed push-ups, sit-ups, and stretches with mechanical precision. Every joint protested but obeyed. He descended to the fish market where Murphy had prepared coffee. "Morning, Captain Hayes," Murphy said. "Only captains who survive their ships," William replied. Murphy poured black coffee and handed him dried fish. As he ate, William watched the docks. Mancini's men were already working, unloading crates marked as machine parts but moving them with the care reserved for weapons or narcotics. One enforcer beat a dock worker who had complained about wages. The man fell. Nobody helped. William gripped his cup until his knuckles turned white. Murphy noticed the change in his eyes. "Do not get involved, Captain. Those men kill for sport." "I know," William said without looking away. "I used to do worse." Murphy paled and said nothing more. William stepped outside into the fog. The beaten dock worker still lay groaning on the pier. The enforcer who attacked him, a giant called Bulldog, laughed with his crew. "Hey, old man," Bulldog called out. "That worker owed respect, and you are sticking your nose where it does not belong." William straightened slowly, vertebrae cracking. "That man owes you nothing, and I owe you even less." Bulldog grinned and reached for the pistol tucked in his belt. "You got any idea who you are talking to?" "Yes," William said calmly. "A dead man who does not know it yet." Bulldog frowned, confused, but the older dock workers, those who remembered stories whispered in taverns, felt ice in their spines. One man, a fisherman named Pete, whispered, trembling, "That walk, that voice, sweet Jesus, it cannot be." Before Bulldog could draw, William moved, one step forward, fast as a striking snake. His left hand locked Bulldog's wrist. His right hand drove a fist into the enforcer's solar plexus. Bulldog collapsed, gasping, unable to breathe. William leaned down and whispered into his ear, "Tell Mancini the Phantom is back. Tell him his debt is due." Then he released the man and walked away into the fog. Bulldog coughed, vomited, and finally staggered to his feet. His crew stared in shock. "That old man just dropped you like a sack of fish," one said. Bulldog's face twisted with rage and fear. "Get Mancini, now!" Word spread through the docks faster than fire. By noon, every smuggler knew an old man had challenged the Serpent Syndicate. Some laughed, others remembered old stories. And Vincent Mancini, sitting in his warehouse office counting money, felt something he had not felt in years: unease. His right-hand man, a scarred killer named Dominic Cross, entered. "Boss, that old sailor. Bulldog says he called himself the Phantom." Mancini froze, cigar halfway to his lips. "That is a ghost story. Fishermen's nonsense." Dominic's voice dropped. "I served in the Navy, boss. I heard stories about a SEAL who could sink ships single-handed, who killed entire crews without making a sound. They called him the Dockyard Phantom. He was declared dead in 1932. Mancini crushed his cigar. "If he is alive, then we kill him. Simple." But Dominic's hands trembled as he checked his revolver. "If the stories are true, boss, killing him will not be simple at all." The fog thickened as evening fell. And somewhere in that gray void, William Hayes prepared for war. The hunt had begun. Night fell like a funeral shroud. William sat in his room, single candle flickering. He opened his duffel and removed items one by one: a bar knife, a waterproof watch, dive weights, piano wire, and finally 4 blocks of C2 explosive military grade, enough to sink every ship in Mancini's fleet. He strapped the knife to his calf, slipped the wire into his pocket, and packed the explosives. He looked at the photograph one last time. "For you, Sarah, for you, Thomas, tonight it ends." He extinguished the candle and slipped out the window. The fog was perfect. William moved through it like a wraith, silent and invisible. He knew these docks from his youth, every alley, every warehouse, every berth. Mancini had guards, floodlights, and dogs, but the ocean was William's domain. He approached from the water, stripped to his undershirt, strapped the explosives, and waded into the freezing bay. He swam silently beneath the surface, reaching the pier pilings where 3 ships were docked. Guards patrolled above, but they watched the land, not the water. Amateurs, William thought. He dove beneath the first ship, a cargo freighter called the Serpent's Fang. He placed the first block of C2 against the hull, set the timer for 60 minutes, and activated it. He moved to the second ship, repeated the process. Then the third. 4 minutes underwater, 4 timers ticking. He surfaced silently behind a piling, gasping for air, then swam back to shore. He dressed quickly, checked his watch, and walked calmly toward the warehouse, 56 minutes remaining. The warehouse front entrance had 6 guards, suicidal to attack directly, but William did not attack. He climbed a drainage pipe to the roof, silent as fog. He crawled across the tin roof until he found a ventilation shaft. He removed the grate and lowered himself inside. The warehouse was a maze of crates, contraband stacked floor to ceiling. Voices echoed from the office at the far end, Mancini and his men counting money, planning routes oblivious. William moved through shadows, a lifetime of training turning him invisible. He reached the office door and listened, Mancini's voice arrogant and loud. "That old man is probably hiding in his room crying. Tomorrow we drag him out and feed him to the crabs." Dominic's voice uncertain. "Boss, I really think we should leave tonight. Get out of the city. Something is not right." Mancini laughed. "You scared of a ghost story? Fine, double the guards. Nobody gets in or out." William smiled in the darkness. He did not need to get in. He just needed them to stay inside. He moved to the warehouse's main support column and planted his last block of C2. He set the timer for 62 minutes, 2 minutes after the ships exploded. Then he left the way he came, climbing back to the roof and vanishing into the fog. He reached the edge of Dock 7, far from the blast zone, and waited. He checked his watch. 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Then the night erupted. The first explosion lit the fog like daylight. The Serpent's fang lifted 3 feet out of the water, hull splitting, and sank in seconds. 5 seconds later, the second ship exploded. Then the third. The harbor shook. Alarms screamed. Men shouted. Mancini's guards ran toward the docks, abandoning their posts. Mancini and Dominic burst from the warehouse, staring in horror as their empire burned and sank. "What in God's name?" Mancini screamed. Then the warehouse exploded. The blast tore through the building, collapsing walls, igniting contraband. Mancini and Dominic were thrown 20 feet, landing hard on the pier. Flames roared into the sky. Mancini struggled to his feet, ears ringing, face bleeding. Around him, his men scrambled in chaos. Ships sinking, warehouse destroyed, millions of dollars gone in seconds. And then he saw him. William Hayes, standing at the end of the pier, silhouetted against the flames. Calm, still, watching. Mancini's blood turned to ice. You did this." William walked forward slowly, hands empty, voice steady. 5 years ago, you burned Pier 39 to expand your territory. You killed 14 people. One of them was my wife. One was my 8-year-old son." Mancini's face went white. I did not know. It was just business." William stopped 10 feet away. "Business," he repeated. "You murdered my family for business. Tonight your business drowns." Mancini reached for his pistol. William moved, 1 step, fast as lightning. His hand caught Mancini's wrist, twisted, bone snapped. Mancini screamed. William swept his legs, slammed him to the ground, and pressed the car-bar knife to his throat. Dominic and 5 surviving enforcers rushed forward, weapons drawn. William did not flinch. "One move and your boss dies." "Then I kill all of you. You cannot fight all of us," Dominic shouted. William's voice dropped to a whisper, but everyone heard. "I have killed 60 men in conditions worse than this. In the dark, underwater, behind enemy lines. You are amateurs playing at war." Dominic's hands shook. "The Dockyard Phantom is real." Mancini looked up at William, tears streaming. "Please, I have money. I will leave the city. I will disappear." William stared down at him, remembering his son's laugh, his wife's smile, the empty graves. For 5 years he had imagined this moment, the revenge, the kill, but as he looked at Mancini, broken and weeping, he realized something. Killing him would not bring them back. Nothing would. William stood and sheathed his knife. "You get to live," he said. "Every day you will wake up knowing you lost everything. Your empire is gone. Your reputation is destroyed. And the Phantom spared you not because you deserve mercy, but because death is too easy." He turned to Dominic. "If he ever returns to this city, I will finish what I started." "Understood." Dominic nodded, trembling. "Understood." William walked past them, past the burning warehouse, past the sinking ships, and disappeared into the fog. Behind him, sirens wailed, men shouted, and an empire collapsed into the bay. San Francisco's harbor would never be the same. The Serpent Syndicate was dead, and Captain William Hayes, the Dockyard Phantom, faded back into legend. Somewhere out on the water, a ghost ship sailed into the mist. The Navy's deadliest operator had delivered his final mission, justice without a badge, vengeance without mercy, and a legend that would echo through the docks for generations. Mancini knelt in the ruins of his empire, surrounded by fire and shame. The Phantom had taken everything except his life, and in doing so gave him a punishment worse than death. William Hayes never returned to San Francisco. Some say he disappeared into the Pacific, sailing toward the horizon. Others claim they saw an old man working on a fishing boat near Alaska, quiet and content. The photograph of his family remained in his coat pocket, close to his heart. And that is how it ended, sailors. A harbor once ruled by fear now breathes free under the same stars that once watched it burn. Captain William Hayes, the Dockyard Phantom, did not just take revenge. He reminded the waterfront that evil may control the surface, but the deep always reclaims its own. Some say on foggy nights, if you stand at the edge of Pier 39, you can still hear the sound of ships sinking beneath the waves. And maybe, just maybe, you will see the shadow of an old sailor standing watch, making sure the darkness never returns. Now tell me, partner, if you were in William's boots, would you have spared Mancini or finished him right there on the pier? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to know what justice means to you, and if you have made it this far sailing with me through every explosion, every shadow, and every wave of this story, thank you. Your support keeps these legends alive. Before you sail off, do not forget to smash that like button if this tale made your heart pound. Subscribe so you never miss the next journey into the depths of history. And tell me from which corner of the world you are watching. It is incredible to see how far these stories travel. Until our next voyage, sailor, keep your compass true, your courage strong, and your honor unshaken. Because out here on the waterfront, sometimes justice wears no uniform. Sail safe, and may the legend of the Dockyard Phantom live forever in your memory.